guys, how are you? Hey everyone, this is me Aastha. Updates. Self-expression, yes. Not suppress your self-expression. You should express. What am I saying? What am I saying? That's stupid. Before we proceed any further, let me tell you something. You, yes, you. Subscribe. So I got this complaint that I wasn't being audible enough in my last video. Hence this. So let me just hold it. Yes, here, so that you guys can hear me nicely. So let me give you updates. So this is a new diary that I got for myself, and it looks nice. It's called My Secret Gardens. This is my old one, and I have almost finished this. And now I can write all my progress in this. And what are the other updates? Nothing much actually. No, like other people, like they give updates. I don't know how to do that. But yes, I've been living a peaceful life, and this is the only update. I don't know. Actually, I don't remember right now. But I would have if I remembered. I would have said you guys. So I wanted to make a video about shadow work. So what is shadow work exactly? So we all have our needs and wants as a human being. And now what happens is when we suppress our needs and wants or a part of our personality within ourselves, it becomes a part of our personality which is not visible. So it's called shadow self, And working on those aspects of yourself, shadow self, is called shadow work. So for example, you might have said something or done something in your childhood, and maybe your parents said that, oh, you're not supposed to do this or you're not supposed to do that. So what you did instead of expressing it explicitly, what you did was you repressed that aspect of yourself. Maybe your parents told you that, oh, you are being too clingy or something like that. So what you did is you felt ashamed maybe, and you repressed that aspect of yourself. So what generally happens is when you repress any aspect of yourself, what you're basically doing is that you become really conflicted when you repress some aspect of yourself, and you constantly go back and forth, and your decision making capacity gets hampered in that midway. Actually, when you don't deal with your issues with your shadow self, what happens is that you are actually people might actually start self-soothing themselves with drugs and alcohols, and they might they might develop this negative self-talk, and they might start stressing more and all. So these things they might become more anxious. So rather than working against it, I think we should work with it. If I take my example, then what happened with me was that I was quite shy person like before, and I never used to express myself, not even with my friends. I used to barely say anything about my personal life. I always kept it separate, and so what happened was because expression was not something that was encouraged, and what I did was I entirely kept it to myself, and expression and everything, my parts of my personality, who I was, I kept it hidden inside of me, and it kind of like generated conflict within me. And before, I wasn't able to make conscious decisions, and I used to be like, oh, should I do this, should I not do this, should I do this, that, it was like I'm not being able to make proper decisions. So that happens when you don't work with your shadow. And so the first step towards, and when you actually work on your shadow, what happens is the result is that you feel whole and complete, and you don't feel incomplete. Like for example, if I talk about myself, making YouTube videos was like the best decision that I ever made, because like the more videos I made, doesn't matter, I don't care about the views or how many people are watching or who's watching. Whenever I make, I feel complete, because I don't feel that something's lacking, and I express myself in some way, right? So that's why I feel really complete. And it was kind of like a shadow work for me, because I wasn't being expressive, and I had a very skewed perception about vulnerability. I always felt like if I am being vulnerable, if I'm being open about my problems, maybe I felt ashamed about talking about my problems, because I don't know, maybe because of someone's influence or something. I don't remember exactly how I developed that perception, but it definitely changed with time. And yes, and then I realized that not talking about your vulnerability will only cause you conflicts and nothing else. Like the more you open about your problems and the more you express, the more light and complete and whole you will feel, because addressing the first step towards working and like your shadow self, working with your shadow, is that is that first you acknowledge that, okay, this is what I want, these are my needs, and I'm not going to ignore anymore. And another step is that you take conscious steps towards, making that whatever you want, you making it happen. You take steps towards it and stop procrastinating or whatever is it that you're doing. For example, like I needed something and I was like too scared to ask anyone. But what happened was that I didn't know, like if I say this maybe everyone would be upset. I was too scared of everyone's judgment, and that's why it led to procrastination. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to, what will people say, what will people say. So what happened was that I was always, I was in conflict. I was like, should I not. So that's why what I did instead was, I one day I just went and I told my dad, like, okay, this is what I want. And I even asked my brother, this is what I want. And I was like really like angry at my dad, and I was like, this is what I want. And later I realized that he was like, I would glad to help you. I developed that situation for myself. It wasn't that no one wanted to help me, but I didn't ask for help. And the more I talked about it, the more free I felt, the more less conflicted I felt. And that is what shadow work is. And it can be scary, but it takes time and you can actually work on it, and it gets easier. So that's why the more expressive I became, the more complete I felt. And I I am no more that conflicted girl that I used to be. And when you have some needs and wants, when you want something, and you just people who care about you, if you tell them, you'll realize that they would be really glad to help you. And if the person's not willing to help you, then the person's not right for you. The right kind of people, you always need to be around right kind of people. And I'm really privileged, and I'm thankful that I have my family who always look after me and are there for me. So actually I could do all the shadow work with the help of my family. I couldn't have done without them. So, and if you guys are also like, if you are not able to take any decision, if you don't do it, probably you will actually be in conflict, like for a very long period of time. And one day will come when you will be like, okay, this is it, I'm just gonna do it. So rather than procrastinating, I think you should just go after it and not suppress whatever is it. Not self-expression, yes, not suppress your self-expression. You should express. What am I saying? Am I stupid? When you actually want or need something, you should be ruthless. I mean, not like ruthless, but you should address it. You should be upfront about it, that okay, this is what I want, this is what I need. And people will be actually willing to help you, not like in a bad way, but in a good way. If you actually tell them, people will cooperate with you. It's not like no one wants to help you, okay? So but I used to think that way before, but later when I actually talked to them, I felt otherwise. Well, it was just the contrary. So address it. My last message would be, don't be too harsh on yourself. Don't judge yourself. Whatever your needs are, acknowledge it. Ask for help. If you're not able to do it alone, you should definitely ask for help. And I'm definitely sure people who care about you will always come forward to help you. And yes, and don't take them for granted. They'll always be there for you, whoever